Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, it's my great pleasure to be here. My name is Michael McDonald. I'm CEO of the Bruce Trail Conservancy.
That's fabulous. Can you tell us a little bit about the Bruce Trail Conservancy?
Absolutely. So the Bruce Trail Conservancy is an organization that is working really hard to protect land all across the Niagara Escarpment, and that includes Hamilton, which is a hotspot for biodiversity. So the Bruce Trail sits within our conservation corridor, which is about 911 kilometers, and really what we do is we protect land and protect habitat for the many species at risk, but we also make it so that people can connect with that land through the Bruce Trail. And we really believe that when people are connected to nature, you get better conservation outcomes.
You mentioned that Hamilton has part of the Bruce Trail going through it. I was wondering if you could tell us what section it was part of.
Absolutely. So the Bruce Trail is entirely maintained by volunteers, and we're so lucky and so grateful to those volunteers. But what we do is we've divided the trail into 9 sections, and each of those sections, each of those volunteer clubs, maintain a certain section of the trail. So the Hamilton area is maintained by the Iroquois Bruce Trail Club, and they're a bunch of fabulous volunteers who work really hard to maintain the trail, but in addition to that, steward the lands around the trail.
You mentioned Bruce Trail is maintained by volunteers. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Absolutely. So we've got a talented staff of about 24 people that work at our headquarters in Dundas, Ontario. Then we have 1,400 volunteers that go all across the escarpment. And what they're doing is they're making their individual communities better. So here in the Hamilton area, the Iroquois Club, we've got an incredible group of talented people who are maintaining the trail. So every time you're out there enjoying the Bruce Trail, which are the white blazes, is the main trail, and blue blazes, which are the side trails or access points, those are maintained by volunteers that are working hard to make sure that the trail is there for everyone to enjoy. And then in addition to that, we've got a whole army of volunteers that are working really hard to protect the land around the trail. And those are people that are working on biodiversity enhancement. So restoration projects, removing invasive species, planting trees, doing all of that work which will help make for healthier ecosystems.
You mentioned restoration projects. I was wondering if you could give us a few examples of the work you're doing.
Absolutely. So again, all across the whole Niagara Escarpment through the power of volunteers, we're doing lots of different restoration projects. So we're restoring tall grass prairie systems, which are a globally rare ecosystem, really important for grass nesting birds. But even on this property and right behind me, we've been planting American chestnut trees, which are an endangered species. So we're working hard to make ecosystems more resilient by increasing the biodiversity. And that's really critical, especially in the Hamilton area where there are a lot of invasive species. So some of that restoration work has volunteers going out and pulling buckthorn and doing lots of work to make sure that the land, again, around the trail is essentially better than when we found it.
So the Bruce Trail is really important for both recreation, for humans to enjoy, but it's also really important for species to be able to move between spaces. Is there a little bit more you can tell us about that?
Absolutely. Like that's, again, one of the great powers of the Bruce Trail Conservancy is we have the Bruce Trail, which is 911 kilometers, as I said. That's important for the movement of people and for their connection to nature. But more than that, this is a 900-kilometer ecological corridor that's really important for the movement of animals. So we've got migratory birds, but again, imagine 900 kilometers of connected natural lands, and that's so important for the movement of species and a part of the way that we help protect the biodiversity in the area.
So the Bruce Trail goes this incredible distance. How do you know when you are on the Bruce Trail, and how are people able to get involved?
Okay, yeah, great question. So if you live along the Niagara Escarpment, chances are the Bruce Trail is not far from you. And so, but one of the ways that you can learn about where we are is you can go to our website, brucetrail.org, and learn about the organization. We also have mapping there. We also have an app that you can download with a free trial, and that's a great way for people to learn where the trail systems are close to them, and a really great way to engage, using technology to connect with the trail system. So that's one of the ways. I think all of our 9 clubs have websites that you can connect to and learn about how to get involved locally, but we rely on people power to power the Bruce Trail, and so we want people to support us. So if people want to become members and support our work, that's so helpful. If people want to become volunteers, that's so helpful and so important, and really galvanizes the organization together. And then we also have amazing donors out there that support our work. Buying land near urban nature is really expensive, and so we have a really important fundraising realm to our work that allows us to protect this land. So there's so many different ways that people can get involved. And again, we talk about protecting nature for everyone. And by everyone, we really want to be inclusive and invite everybody to come explore nature.
So how does the Bruce Trail go about procuring land to protect forever?
Great. So we're always wanting to add to our conservation corridor. That's really important for us, and that's our core mandate, protecting land along the Niagara Escarpment. Right now, the Bruce Trail actually goes through 650 private landowners' land, which means those are landowners that allow the Bruce Trail to cross their property. What we're looking to do is to secure those lands in the long term. So we accept donations of land. We will actually do fee simple. We'll purchase land. And again, what we typically do is when we find a parcel of land that we need to protect, we do a public campaign around that to say, help us protect this new nature reserve. But the beauty and the power of our model is that once people decide to donate, they can actually go there and see it and explore it and touch it and feel it and understand all of the species and what it is that we're trying to protect there. So it's such a beautiful model.
Thank you for all that information, Michael. I'm really glad we're able to bring awareness to the fabulous trail system that we have running around here, and that Hamilton is home to a nice big piece of it. And there's so many cool places to explore here. I was wondering if you could give us a little nature story.
Oh, nature story. There's so many nature stories along the Bruce Trail. But again, I think people's connection to nature is so important for great conservation outcomes. That's the whole genesis of the Bruce Trail itself, is that if people fall in love with nature, they'll want to protect it. And that was the vision of our founders, and that's true today. So we really believe in that connection to nature and the power of nature stories. I think, a nature story specific to the property that we're on right now, this is a small protected area in Waterdown, not so far away from subdivisions and main roads and traffic, but we protected this little space a few years ago when we've been doing lots of restoration work here. But when our ecologists came out recently, they actually found a red-headed woodpecker, which is a really endangered species. And, providing this little habitat might just be enough for that species to hold on. And so we take great joy in stories and finding, when we find a species that's at risk, when we can see it, we know that it's there because of the work that we've done. That's powerful. For me, a nature story, I love wildlife. And so, anytime I'm out in the trail and I see wildlife, which is very often, there's so much wildlife in our own backyards that you don't even realize. So I'd encourage people to get outside, explore, enjoy the Bruce Trail, and create your own nature stories.